Okay, so I have the mock data up, and so the first thing I'm going to do is the first question, which is calculate the sample size, mean, median, standard deviation, variance, kurtosis, and skewness across instructional type and grade using the mean function. And the hint is use the layers function. Okay, so I'm going to analyze, compare means, and I want to use this layers function. So my dependent list is going to be scores 1, 2, and 3. And I want to use instructional type and grade. And then before I hit OK, I'm going to go to options. I'm just going to put all those back just to make sure I get them all in the right order. Okay, and I want sample size, which is, I guess, number of cases, mean, median, standard deviation, variance, there's variance, kurtosis, and skewness. Okay, then I'll hit continue, and then OK. Okay, and there's that one. Alright, let me do number 2 now. Number 2, calculate an independent samples t-test for instructional type and scores 1, 2, and 3. Hint, use the transformation function. So I'm going to go to transform. Oh, I remember this one. Okay. So if I look back down to my variable view here, for this one I'm looking at instructional type. And if I click on that, I get 1 means lecture, 2 means hands-on, and 3 means self-instruction. So I'm going to actually write that down. I'm going to write down 1 is lecture, and I'm writing down 2 equals hands-on, 3 equals self-instruction. Just so I know these values, because we're going to need them. Okay, so now I go to transform. I want to recode into different variables. And I'm looking at instructional type. And so let's start with number 1, which was lecture. So I'm going to label it lecture, lecture, old and new values. So the old value for lecture was 1, and I'm going to keep it at 1. So I'm going to add that. Number 2, which is supposed to be hands-on, I'm going to give it the value of 0. 3, which is self-instruction, I'm going to give it the value of 0 and hit add. I'm going to hit continue. And then change. Oops, do I have that? Yeah, I do. I'm going to hit OK. Alright, now I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to do it with hands on. I'm going to change. So I'm looking at hands on. Now hands on, that was number 2. So I'm going to make number 2 into number 1. I'm going to make number 1, which is lecture, into 0. And then number 3 is already 0, so that's good. So I'm going to hit continue there. I'm going to hit OK. So now if you look, I've got lecture, hands-on, and all I need now is self-instruction. So I'm going to do it one more time. Transform, recode into different variables, and I'm going to call this one self-instruction, instruction. I'm going to change it. Okay. The old and new values. Now self-instruction was number 3. So now I want number 3 to become number 1. I'm going to change that. Number 1 is already 0, which is good. Number 2 I want to change to 0. So now I'm looking at that one. Okay, now hit continue. And then okay. Okay, so now I've got that. So now I'm ready to do the thing, which is an independent samples t-test. So analyze, compare means, independent samples t-test. And I'm looking at instructional types and score 1, 2, 3. So the grouping variable, let's do lecture first. Scores 1, 2, and 3. Oh, and then for lecture I need to define the groups, which are 0. Oops, no, I want 1 first. And then 0. And then I'll hit continue. And then options, no, and then OK. So now this just came up for lecture. So now I want to do the same thing for the hands-on and self-instruction. So analyze, compare means, independent samples t-test. I don't want lecture. I'm going to do hands-on. I need to define those two groups, which is going to be group 1 is 1, group 2 is 0. Continue. Okay. So there's my hands-on, and now I just need to do it for the last one. Analyze, compare means, independent sample t-test. Get that out of there. Do self-instruction. Define the group 1 and group 2. Continue. Okay. Okay, so that's that one. So I'm going to stop the video here because I don't want this to be too long. So that's questions 1 and 2.